All right, ladies and gentlemen, surface area of a cone, SA equals pi r squared plus pi r slant. Surface area is 1,200. Surface area. Radius is 5. R. Find the slant height. S. That means you isolate S. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, I am doing this on the screen. Feel free to look up once in a while, flip back to your 41 and 42 and see how you are doing. If you have time, because at 2:05, regardless, I am starting to mark this stuff. Remember, only the review stuff counts for marks. This is still practice. Oakley dokley? Go.
So, I was doing my homework at home, and then I left
Nice.
my booklet. So, can I just do it on a separate sheet of paper and use
Of course you can.
Or do you have any extra booklets that I can...
I do have extra booklets, but then, of course, you would do like 3 questions in the booklet, and then the booklet would be no good for somebody else, right?
No, I'm not going to do them in the booklet. I'm just going to...
Oh, yeah, there's blue ones right there.
Okay.
Oh, wait. You're yellow, aren't you?
Yeah.
Check under there. There's probably a box of yellows.
Oh, here it is. Thank you.
There you go, brother. So that is 1,200 equals 25 pi plus 5 pi s. Now, in algebra, to isolate s, we must move everything else. And you move by doing the opposite of what you see. How do you get rid of 25 pi? Well, you would subtract 25 pi. If you do that to one side, you must do it to the other side. So, I now have 1,200 minus 25 pi equals, that's gone, 5 pi s. How do I get rid of 5 times pi times s? I divide by 5 pi, which means I divide by 5 pi. And now, s is by itself. S equals 1,200 minus 25 pi divided by 5 pi. Now, if you actually need a value, of course, you go to your calculator and you punch in, remembering you need brackets on the top. Bracket 1,200 minus, missed the 0, minus 25. Now, I just need to hit pi. Some of you need to hit times pi. Close brackets. Divided by new bracket, 5 pi. Close brackets equals 71.4. Now, of course, I know what I'm doing with my calculator, so I didn't estimate. But you may have wanted to. Same thing here. Volume of a cylinder equals pi r squared h. You have a volume. There. You have an h. There. You need to find the r. There, which means you isolate r. 500 equals pi r squared times 20. How do I get rid of times pi and times 20? I divide by 20 pi. Now that is gone, and that is gone, and that is gone. But I have to do the same thing over here. So now I have r squared equals 500 over 20 pi. How do you get rid of a square? The same way you get rid of a square in Pythagoras. You square root. So r equals the square root of 500 over 20 pi. And again, you will go to your calculator. Most of you will need to do that in 2 steps. I would go 500 divided by bracket, because I need the brackets because the 20 and the pi are together to get that. Then I need to square root that. So I just go square root answer, because there's my old answer. and it is 2.8. The volume of a sphere. So I get my volume of a sphere together. 4 pi r cubed over 3. I know on your formula sheets it's 4/3 pi r cubed. This is easier to do algebra with, as I told you when we wrote it out. I have a volume right there. I need a radius right there. So I must isolate r. So 7,602 equals 4 pi r cubed over 3. How do I get rid of divide by 3? I multiply by 3. Cancel, cancel. 3. So now I have 3 times 7,602 equals 4 pi r cubed. How do I get rid of the pi and the r? Or the 4 and the pi. I divide by 4 pi. I divide by 4 pi. So now, cancel, cancel. I have r cubed equals 3 times 7,602 divided by 4 pi. I can get that answer on my calculator right now. 3 times 7,602. Notice I forgot bracket, so I'm going to hit equals. Divided by bracket 4 pi. Close brackets equals. 18, 14, 84. So I know that r cubed equals 18, 14, 84. Now, most of you will have to stop there because you didn't do cube roots in grade 9. But it's the same as a square root. You're just looking for this on your calculator. So for me, it's really hard to find. I have to go into this math menu and see there it is right there, 3 root. Cube root, and again, that was my last answer, so I'm going to use that answer key that is going to become one of your best friends, especially in the next unit, and then hit enter to get 12.2. You were right, Brendan? Well, when I wrote 12.2, somebody over there went, ooh, which is usually a symbol of that you were right. Okay. Was it indeed you? Okay. And you were indeed right? Good man. That's okay. H equals negative 4.9t squared plus 12t plus a. You have a height. That was supposed to be a highlighter. Yes. I'm sorry, what? I would be able to, but I'm in the middle of doing question number 4 and I already recorded question number 3. So when could you see question number 3? Have you finished everything else, Suhani? Well then, you have something you could be doing, don't you? 100 equals negative 4.9t squared plus 12t plus a. Now, you cannot solve for a because you have 2 unknowns. So all you can do is isolate a, which means I have to get rid of 4.9t squared and get rid of 12t and do the same thing on the other side. 4.9t squared minus 12t plus 100 equals a. Solve for x. That means isolate x. A equals the square root of 2x plus 4. Well, if x squared equals a, how do I get rid of the squared? I square root. So that must mean that if I have a square root, I have to square. If I square this side, that gets rid of the square root, 2x plus 4, but I must square the other side. Then minus 4, a squared minus 4 equals 2x, divide by 2, divide by 2, cancel, x equals a squared minus 4 over 2. And here, isolate x. X over 4 equals 23. That x has a divide by 4 there. I do not like divided by 4, so I multiply both sides by 4. Cancel, x is now alone. Multiply that side by 4, x equals 92. Over here, x is on the bottom. I don't want x on the bottom, I need it on the top, so it has to move. X, cancel, 60 equals 5. X, divide by 5, divide by 5. X equals 12. Now that should show you the shortcut. When the x is in the numerator, we did 23 times 4. When the x was in the denominator, we did 60 divided by 5 to get a final answer. And that's a handy little shortcut that will be very helpful next unit. Now, every question that you answer, every answer you provide is worth 1 point. If you get part of the way to an answer, you may give yourself half a point. Is that clear? Yes. For some reason, this causes much grief. I will put up an answer and the kids will say, well, I did like 3 of those steps, but I got the wrong answer. Is that part of the way there? Yeah. So what do you get? Half a point. Yeah. I know. But you asked me. No. Why do I sound like that when I talk about you people? Because that is the level of pretend intellectual capacity that you seem to bring to me when you ask me questions like that. Because if you brought me intellectual capacity that made me not speak in your voice like this, then you wouldn't be asking the question. I got a half mark for doing half the work. When I just explained you get a half mark for doing half the work. Right? The right answers are highlighted in blue. I am well aware that I have left this as 3.81. You may have done so as well. If you went further, that's okay. Maybe you have 3 miles and some amount of feet. Great. You will still get the full mark. Yes, Toya.
Oh, really? Alright, never mind. I understand now.
What if you just did the
You know in
question?
Zootopia when they do like the shots thingy and then they go all crazy? That's what you kind of look like. You know what I mean? Like when they like give the rabbit. Okay.
Yes,
You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Okay.
Once again,
What if you rounded it up?
this first section is out of 9. Give yourself a mark. Do not bother writing down the right answers now. It is being recorded. We don't have a lot of time, and there are later questions that you will probably wish more explanation for. Yes, Brendan.
Is it okay if I put 320, 4 inches and 30 seconds because it's like in the middle of the thing?
Which one are you speaking of? The next one? Well, I haven't even gotten to the ruler yet. I'm just talking about this 9. On the ruler, the right answers are highlighted, but I will accept anything in the yellow range between 5/8 and 3/4 or 9/16 to 11/16, because the photocopying is not as crisp as it could be. I like saying words that end in S and then a consonant, like crisp and desk, because you can really hit that last consonant. Sometimes it makes one spit. But that's Sophia Mateus's problem. Oh man, remember we were talking about that Friends episode where the guy was spitting all over Joey? You remember that?
No, it wasn't us.
Oh, never mind then. The story's useless.
For question 2, I couldn't figure it out.
I was talking about it with one of my classes, and I went home that night, and I was making dinner, and I heard my daughter watching Friends, and she was watching that episode. It was the weirdest thing. Yes? Question number 2. 0.01 ounces.
I did 0.014.
Yes, that is fine. And, of course, the first chance you have to lawyer ball. He needs 10.5 liters of paint, or he needs 11 1-liter cans of paint, depending on how you read the question. Does anybody need that explained in more detail to them? Which part? The first wall is 4 meters along the floor and 3 meters up. 4 by 3 is 12, but there are 2 of those walls to get 24. Then there are 2 other walls in his room because he does not live on TV, and there are 4 walls. The other walls are 3 by 3 to get 9, of which there are 2 of them to get 18. You add them together to get 42. But he foolishly painted his room purple when he was a kid and now realizes that he's a grown-up and should paint it a more neutral color. So he had to cover it with 3 coats of paint. So 42 times 3 is 126 meters squared of paint, which he needs. The paint covers 12 square meters, so I divide by 12 to get 10.5. Then the lawyers take over. Half of you will say, it's 10.5. Half of you will say, it's 11. And the only person that matters is me, and I don't care because I care about this part of it. No. There is the next work. Now, each answer is worth 1 mark. So, when you give me the surface area, that's worth 1. When you give me the volume, that's worth 1. Please listen to me. There is more than one way to find all of these answers. So, you must decide, if you don't have 978, did you add up the parts? If you added up the parts but missed something, then maybe you should give yourself a half mark. If you added up all the parts and got a different number than me, maybe I did something wrong in my head, because as you can see, there is no calculator involved here. Arsh. I screwed that up. Thank you. This now needs to be changed, because the yellow box, on all the other classes, it's an equilateral triangle. I had the same on both sides. So really, it is the yellow box, which is 25 times 8, and then the light blue box on the back, which is 25 by 6. So really this answer, and thank you for catching that, is 250 plus 80 plus 200 plus 25 times 8, another 200 plus 48 plus 25 times 6 is 150. So it's really 8, and 5 and 8 is 13, and 9 is 22. Carry the 2, 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? Math. Rah, rah, rah. Plus 1 more is 9. It's actually 928. You probably forgot something. Half a mark. All right. And now, I did the volume correctly, because it is the orange triangle and the green rectangle, because they create the base, because this whole shape repeats at the back. and 25 is the height. How did I find the area of this part of it that is outlined in pink? Well, I recognized that I had 6, 8, 10, which means it had to be a Pythagoras triangle, which meant I could turn it this way and have 6, 8, 10, getting a base of 6 and a height of 8, which is 48, but since it's a triangle, it is divided by 2, so it is 24. And all that was recorded. Now, 29. I do these by finding the surface area of the whole prism, and I subtract these 2 green rectangles because they aren't really there. Everything else is. So I did the whole surface area, and then I took out the 2 green rectangles to get 460. That you could also have added up all the sides. You could also have done the bottom prism plus the top prism minus 2 overlaps. I don't care. However you were taught, figure it out. It's no problem. I have given you the most basic thing you can do, which is find every side and add it up. I used to teach the 2 overlap thing, but when if I taught that to 100 kids, 10 of them would remember the 2 overlaps. So I have stopped teaching it because it doesn't stick in your heads. I don't know why. So I don't teach that. Your grade 9 teacher may have. If it sticks in your head, you're welcome to use it. Volume. Of course, I do the area of the base times the height because that always works. The area of the base is highlighted in blue. I highlighted it in blue. That is 36. That is 18. Now, my good friend Brandon said, well, Mr. Myers, couldn't I go 8 by 4 by 18 and then divide that by 4 because this is 4 different same size prisms? And then subtract out 1/4 of it? Yes. And he would have gotten 432 as well. Somebody else said, could I find this volume and add this volume? Yes. And that will also get you 432. The problem with both of those plans is if this wasn't precisely 1/4 of this, if I drew it slightly differently, on another question, Brandon might say, oh yeah, I can do that divide by 4 thing, and it wouldn't work. Right? So just be careful. Surface area of a cylinder is just the formula. I will accept 200 pi. That makes me happy, but I will also accept 628 blah. That makes you happy. I am not going to do the answer to this question because nobody came up to me with an answer to that question. But Selena was very close. Do you wish you change your answer? No. What? No. Anybody else got a guess? Nobody else has a guess? All right. If you promise not to look on YouTube or the interweb, I know it's internet, I'm joking, then I will allow that prize to stay around till tomorrow morning. But you must be able to explain why. So if you just copy down all the work from the internet, it's not going to help you. I know the answer. It is neither of those things. Turn the page over. 864 pi is what I want, but I will accept whatever that is, like 2100 or some crap. 2714. Point blah. And you get 1 for drawing the net. So that one's actually out of 2. And then here I will accept anything highlighted. Any of those highlighted answers I will accept for a full mark, making that out of 2. So that is 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, and 12. It's out of 21. I will get your mark from you tomorrow since class ends in 4 minutes. Would anybody like me to go back to anywhere? 45. There it is. 21. 21. And that's the end of my languages for 21. I only know it in Spanish and French. Well, English, that doesn't really count. I don't count the language you're born knowing as being a language you know. I know you're not born knowing a language.
Wait, is that second highlighted one, like, end 1/3?
Yes, because point 33333333333 is 1/3. Brittany. It's what? Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this class I do not feel is on as thin ice as my other two classes, as should be the case, because this indeed is